What is up, fight fans? We are back with another episode of No Filter, and today is a really great episode because we have a professional fighter on the show today. We have Aiden, the future Ingram. I will let him go ahead and introduce himself now.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on the show, brother. My name's Aiden Ingram, the future, and 2-0 pro fighter. I just had my fight this couple days ago. So, yeah, on a good start for my career.
Let's go. Love it. And that makes you 2-0, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Let's
go, man. Let's keep that ball rolling.
Yes,
so,
sir. Yeah.
Aiden is a beast. If you haven't seen his last two fights, highly recommend you go watch them. This last finish especially was just disgusting. I literally was showing it off at a beer event I went to, and then at my brother-in-law's bar this weekend.
Oh,
dude,
cool, man.
How quickly you were able to sink in that guillotine was incredible. Like the second there was room for error, you were in on it.
Yeah, it's thank you. That's kind of my move, I guess, right now. I've had 4 guillotine finishes since my amateur career. And then, you know, as a wrestler, I've always used the guillotine to defend a lot of takedowns in high school. So it was almost like it's almost meant to be, right? I grew up watching Team Alpha Male and Team Guillotine, so it was just something I knew that I would be good at. And everyone's like, someone told me backstage, they're like, "Man, that was great, but can you do anything else?" And I'm like, "Probably not. I mean, but I'll get there 1,000 different ways to get to that guillotine." And you know, so yeah.
Next time somebody asks you, "Can you do anything else?" you should respond with, "Until I need to, probably not."
until they can stop it, right?
Like, until it becomes a problem that I'm a one-trick pony, I'm just gonna keep tapping people out the same way.
Exactly, right. That's
why not?
Why not? Make me change it up.
Make me change. Exactly. Make me switch it up. I love that. So first question, the generic, asked question. I'm sure you get asked all the time.
Oh, you're fine.
What got you into mixed martial arts originally?
What got me into mixed martial arts initially was I was just a young kid trying to find my way, and my initial plan was just to join the military, like the rest of my family. My mom, my dad, my grandma, my grandpa, my great grandpa were all in the military, served multiple years, so it was kind of a birthright. And then when my dad put me into MMA when I was 14 at the MMA lab, I literally, from the first day, my first jiu-jitsu class, I told my dad, like, this is the one. This is the plan to be in the military was like 3-4 years. Like, I was already doing practice as VABs as a kid and learning all the cool tricks and tips my dad can teach me and stuff, as far as, like, being out in the field and whatnot. And like I said, as soon as I did my first jiu-jitsu class, I fell in love, and I was like, this is my own thing. So the rest is history, as they say, 12 years ago.
I love that, man. So I think it's safe to say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was like the first discipline you really kind of started to take to. Yeah,
when I went to the MMA lab, we didn't know how to go about. I've never been to an MMA gym before or anything, so very first class, obviously being owned by John Crouch and Benson, was Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Got the gi on for the first time. I remember that lesson like it was yesterday. It was a same side smash pass to half guard, and then side control, and then you finish an Americana in side control, and then you do a chair sit pass to mount, and then you finish an Americana from mount. And like I said, it was love at first sight. It was crazy.
It's incredible how quick you fall in love with that kind of thing.
Instantaneous. And it was, they were taken back because I used a loaner gi at the time, and then I didn't know where to put it. And before I could even ask, Benson grabbed it right out of my hands, and he's like, "Oh, I got you. Don't worry." Threw it in the trash bin for me. And I was like, this guy, he was a WEC champ at the time. And I was like, man, he's throwing out my gis. Like I'm the one that's important. So, like I said, the culture and the training was something I never felt before, and I fell in love.
I absolutely love that. Like, if you've ever listened to the podcast before, every fighter I've ever come into contact with has been exactly like that. Like,
exactly.
Literally, when I was training at American Kickboxing Academy, I would see Khabib sweeping the mats. I would see DC teaching the like 8 and 9-year-olds the youth classes. And those kids were better than us, dude. They're so freaking good. Like, I would literally just get there like 30 minutes early, and I'd watch and be like, oh, dude, this 9-year-old would just make me hate life.
That's funny. I always go to some type of kids wrestling program while I'm in camp. So if I'm out here, I'm at Olympus Wrestling with Angel Cejudo. And then if I'm out in California, I'm either at Mark Munoz's place or Ian and I's roommate Heber Castillo's program. And I get with those high school kids, and they just beat me up, man. And and I get, that's what I use for the bulk of my camp is hard wrestling with these freaking high schoolers that are hoping to be Olympic hopefuls and Fargo national champions. So if you guys want to get right, then go to the kids wrestling class for sure.
Absolutely. Words to live by.
Yeah, exactly.
So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like the first thing that you really took to. Mm-hmm. What about as far as the striking game? Because I feel like your striking is really crispy too. And I mean, just going back to kind of what that person said, like, can you do anything else? I feel like you could strike if you really needed to, but you haven't really had to in your fights.
No, not in the moment that I do get to strike and I start feeling it, then people start becoming hard wrestlers for some reason, right? So my dad's from New Jersey, and he got me into MMA. And so even before we started training, it was like, let's go in the basement and let's learn how to box, like old school type stuff. And so I credit like the striking and the willingness to kind of box in the pocket and fight from my dad and from being from New Jersey. Because in New Jersey, you're doing one or two things where I'm from. You're either wrestling or you're fighting out in the streets. So we would go to the local boxing club, and it's just a rundown freaking ring with tape everywhere and stuff. And I'd go scrap with these guys as a kid, so, and my dad too. So as far as striking goes, like that was almost, I did jiu-jitsu and I started grappling first, but man, like when I started figuring out I had these, I was like, that's where it's at.
Absolutely. It's very easy to fall in love with your hands, especially once you realize how good you are with them. And again, I've seen your videos that you post. I've seen your fights. There's a reason that you always end up on the ground. And it's just like you said, once you tag somebody once or twice, all of a sudden they become a panic wrestler very quickly.
Exactly. I agree. And it's, so it made me want to, when I was an amateur, when I first met Ian, I was 1-3. And those 3 losses came because I would throw hands, and then these guys that were, not high level wrestlers, but panic shooters, and they do everything they can to get to the ground. I would end up on the guy, pull guillotines without avail, and I'd end up on the ground, and I'm like, dude, what do I do? And so when I met Ian, I kind of took a mental note of like, all right, do I want to be like a freaking Mike Perry where I like everyone knows that they can just take me to the ground, but on the feet, I'm gonna bust you up, or do I want to become great at everything? So when I met Ian, I really made it a point to become a good wrestler, not just on like a local scene, but like, let me take down the best guys. Who's the national champion? Who's the best guy in the room? Let me try it. Let me test my mettle. I didn't want to be that guy that just got by with wrestling. So really upped my game. Ian helping me a lot. He's a kid that you've seen him. He's freaking tanked out. He's bulky. I always make fun of him. He always got that Josh Emmett build. He hates that, but the man's tanked out. And if I can keep Ian off me at least for a couple rounds, then there's nobody in this world that's going to be able to hold me down.
I love that. Absolutely love that. So I know you said your dad was into boxing. You guys would go to the boxing gym. So obviously, I'm sure you've seen a couple of boxing fights in your time. Oh, who's your favorite boxer of all time?
Favorite boxer of all time? Of all time has got to be Manny Pacquiao. I mean, okay. I'm Filipino. Even before I even got into MMA or fighting, my grandpa, my dad, we would never miss Manny Pacquiao fight. Under Manny is Lomachenko. Obviously, he's one of the best guys technically in the world. But yeah, Manny just embodied that fight anybody, anytime. any weight, spirit, and he was the little guy like me that kind of beat up the big guys. So I was like, I love that, man. So
Absolutely. People always seem to want to fight Pacquiao up until they were in there with him.
yeah, right.
Sorry, what were you saying? I didn't mean to cut in.
So I was just asking the same question. Who's your number one boxing?
Number one of all time. My grandpa would roll over in his grave if he heard me say this. Prince Nassim. Yeah, I love the way he moves, the confidence, and he's the opposite of the style of fighter I would usually like. Like, really? You can ask Ian. We go back and forth. I'm not a Conor McGregor fan by any means. I don't like the arrogant trash talkers, but man, he was different. Just like, he would get me so excited when I was watching him fight.
Even just the entrances, right? He's coming in on a freaking being carried in like a magic carpet ride, and he's wearing the cheetah skin and crazy. And he'd hop in the ring. He'd do like front flips in the ring.
Front flip over the ropes.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm more of a basics kind of guy when it comes to boxing. But how could you not like people like Prince Nassim, man? Those guys make boxing fun.
Yeah, like I there every time I knew that guy was fighting, I would literally like be like, "Hey, can we go visit Pop?" Because I knew my Pop would be like want to watch the boxing fights. And literally he would hate that I'd cheer for that guy because he's like, he's an arrogant piece of shit. What are you doing?
He had skills, man.
Dude, he was so good, so good.
Yeah.
Okay, so switching back over to MMA. Who's your favorite mixed martial artist of all time?
Oh man, yeah. I was listening to this question with Ian. You were at the end, and I had a two-parter. I had favorite martial artist of all time, and then favorite martial artist of like the modern day, because it's like you can't even compare, right? Favorite martial artist of all time. I mean, I would never miss an Anderson Silva fight. You know, I would never. And no matter even if I thought like the next guy was going to be the guy to give him the tough fight, the Chael Sonnen fight, even the second Chael Sonnen fight, like there wasn't a moment where like even if you wanted him to win or lose, you weren't going to watch and something crazy was going to happen. That's all I got to say. Obviously, GSP being right there head to head. As far as like modern day era, man, Demetrius Johnson. I mean, how do you bet against Demetrius Johnson in any fight? You know,
you don't bet against DJ. He's literally he's incredible. Like, I mean, you saw what he did in his last fight. He literally took the guy that beat him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to make it look even more impressive."
Mm-hmm. And I know that GSP's your top guy, and I think Demetrius Johnson is almost a successor to GSP, right? Like there wasn't a part where Demetrius Johnson in the UFC where, all right, he's a grappler, okay, he's gonna out grapple you. All right, he's a striker, okay, he's a jiu-jitsu black belt, okay, he's gonna armbar you, right? Like, so for GSP to take that mantra of like, I'm gonna take his strength and beat him at it, so he doesn't have anything for me. Same thing for Demetrius Johnson. Like it was really inspiring, especially for someone like that didn't do anything in wrestling in high school. Like the best thing I was in Arizona was like number 8, and never really got up to the higher level. Like it's inspiring to see people like GSP, Demetrius Johnson, who got out grappled in their early fights by better wrestlers and better grapplers, and then they were like, all right, I'm going to become the best grappler. That's never going to happen again. So I take a lot of inspiration from those guys a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And just kind of echoing to the tune of what you said, I completely agree that DJ, I would say, is the most modern day successor of GSP. Like Mighty Mouse he's perfect in every aspect of the word when it comes to martial arts. He's had one loss in the last decade?
If you want to call it that.
Or two. And I mean, realistically, if you look at it that way, losses, I mean, you know this, you said you were 1-3 when you met Ian, right? Losses make you grow. Like at AKA, we always preach there's winning and there's learning. There's winning and there's learning. There's no losing here. So every time DJ loses, I genuinely feel bad for whoever the hell faces him next, because they are in trouble. You got to know he's coming back. And whatever you did to him, he's going to be able to do it to you better. He's going to be able to do it to you harder, and he's going to be able to do it to you in an embarrassing way.
I mean, look at his fights, man. I mean, like the Ray Borg fight stands out. And what did Ray Borg say? No one can scramble with me. No one can wrestle and keep up with my pace. What did DJ do? Scramble with him, keep up with the pace. He had moments. Ray Borg had moments. He had Wilson Hayes. He's Alliance's coach now, jiu-jitsu coach, MMA coach. And he was a high-level black belt when he fought.
DJ made him look like an amateur on the mat.
Even and I think like even the better fights that look better, Kyoji Horiguchi, right? He fought him. Alu Bagatinov, who was juiced to the gills, like it really is impressive. And like you talk about AKA, it's like when you lose, especially AKA being such a wrestling eccentric gym, when you're wrestling so much, there's no time to wallow in self-pity, right? Like you lose. You gotta wrestle another tournament the next weekend. You don't have time to be like, oh my gosh, I lost this and that to wallow in self-pity. The only thing you have time for in wrestling is to get better, right? So that's why I love you're able to kind of connect with us on that level too. Is there's no room to be pity party, right?
No, absolutely. Like, and there's not even enough time to nurse your injuries, like let alone have a pity party. Like you got to jump right back into training, because if you're not, there's another young, hungry kid that's going to get better than you. Even if you're better than him today, you take today off, maybe he's better than you tomorrow. Yeah. And that doesn't sit well. So you got to get back in there. Especially if you're doing well for yourself, then you do have that target on your back. People are going to be watching. Like, obviously in MMA, like I know, like I'm not the best in the world or whatever, but I know that the more I start performing the way I do, there's going to be people watching the videos. There's going to be people, just as I look at guys coming up in the UFC and contender series in my weight class, Ian and I always watch the 35ers and 25ers, and we're like, all right, that's the kid, like kid that's 5-0, that doesn't have a lot of experience. I'll see that kid. I know people that are under me that are saying the same exact thing. And that's what motivates me as well to not kind of coast even with these wins. Absolutely. You can't get complacent. It's when you're at the top that you have to try the hardest to stay there. So we have got a question from Z here. He said, how do you guys feel about the idea of Anderson Silva teaming up with Jake Paul to make an organization to pay fighters better than the UFC?
I'll let you go first.
So I personally think it's a great idea. I actually read kind of the laid out plan that he said either today or yesterday. I think it was this morning that he posted about it. And basically he wants to raise I think he said $50 million and basically set up this funding organization to where when a fighter is underpaid, they can help them out with paychecks, with covering medical bills, making sure that they're well off and not struggling and having to work 2-3 jobs while training, which I'm sure you can relate to, right? Exactly. So that's my positive side. I think that it's a great idea in theory. Now, doing my research and having followed Jake Paul's career up until now, he was cute before he did the boxing thing. He was the Disney kid. Yeah. And then once he got into the boxing thing, what I realized about him even before that, when he got into the YouTube thing, is he's very smart when it comes to business. He does very smart, lucrative business deals. But what he tends to do with the NFTs and things like that is he gets people bought into an idea. He gets investors bought into an idea. He makes his money, and then Thanos snap. He's fucking gone. And then it's like, cool, I'll let these people keep doing it if they feel the need to, but I made my money, I'm out. So I worry that might be the same situation with this. But I do think it's good in theory.
I agree. Yeah, I think anything that helps make the sport bigger, and anybody that has the right intention to come in and help the sport in a positive way, not just bring more eyes to it, but to bring more money to the fighters. It's awesome. I mean, that's the whole goal of the organization that I fight for, Freedom Fights, and their newer promotion called. Can you hear me? Okay, cool.
Yes, I can hear
you. United Fight League is owned by Rampage, Frank Mir, and Tito, and it's headed by this guy named Harrison Rogers, who's a political figure out here in Arizona, and it's kind of the same thing as far as they want to build an organization by fighters for fighters. So I haven't really looked at my contract that I was able to win from my last fight with UFL. But they said they wanted to do healthcare. They said they wanted to do stake in the company. A lot of big things, right? So kind of the same thing with the Jake Paul thing is if those promises can be fulfilled even at a halfway mark, I think that changes the game on both sides. And to answer your question with Jake Paul and Anderson Silva specifically, yeah, I mean, Jake Paul's got the name. I've watched Jake and Logan Paul when they were Vine guys and they're doing like wrestling vines at Walmart. They got in their wrestling singlets and they would rip off their sweats and they would pretend to wrestle people in the middle of Walmart when they were actually funny. So for that name and then Anderson Silva to kind of do, if they can just do something together, maybe an organization, maybe a union, like I said, anything that fulfills like half of what they want to say, come on now. What's the hurt, right? Because if it fails, then we're just back to the normal part of MMA. So if we don't try, if these guys don't try and fighters aren't getting on board with these guys and backing them up too, then again, we're right back to just watching UFC again. So no hurt in trying, right?
I completely agree. I think there's no harm in trying. I think it's a great concept. And again, like you said, like worst case scenario, cool. We're back where we started.
Yeah.
Like, it's no harm, no foul. Like, it's not like they're going to be like, oh no, you guys were behind this, lashings. Like, that's not how it works.
and the UFC isn't hurting if an organization fails at that, right? Like,
no, not at all.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
And I was going to say the UFC won't be hurting if an organization does better. I think everyone doing better helps the sport grow. So.
Absolutely. What's the phrase? A rising boat or a rising tide lifts all boats, right?
No, I like that.
And I also believe that the UFC could stand to have some better competition, and that would only make them grow and continue to increase their production value, continue to increase fighter pay, which is the end game goal of all of this. Mm-hmm. So my buddy Arthur, the Blaqhato, he asked, will a fighters union exist once Dana White is out of the picture? I'll let you take this one first.
Yeah, I don't know about that. You know what, for me, especially being so young in my professional career, but I've been in the sport of MMA for 12 years. I don't really have a good grasp on what people mean by having a set fighters union, because everyone says fighters union, we want to do this, we want to do that. What does that really mean? And then what does the individual exactly plan when they because everyone says fighters union. Everyone's like, when you get up on the stand, you're like, yeah, I want to build a fighters union. And that sounds awesome. And people are like, yeah, let's get behind it. It's like, what do you exactly mean? And what are you really trying to do? But as far as having a fighters union after Dana leaves, I don't know. I don't think it's not like Dana controls whether we're able to have a fight. When Hunter Campbell takes over after Dana, the control over MMA is going to be the same. It's not like he's going to stop a fighters union. It stops itself. So it's really up to people to, again, get behind these types of ideas and really, as you talk about, like with Jake Paul, not stop halfway with his business ventures and really just hit the ground running and continue and understand, like, if you really want to create a fighters union or an organization that'll help the fighters more, you gotta go 100% in. This isn't half in, half out door, because I'm not half in, half out. So why would the organization or union that I'm hoping to be a part of be half in, half out, right?
Absolutely fair point. I think that is a very, very valid question. Is we constantly hear, like, we need a fighters union. If we had a fighters union, it would be so beneficial. It would help. I have a lot of friends that are carpenters, and they work for, they have a union, and they constantly bitch about the union that's supposed to take care of them. So, like, realistically, I think a very valid question is, what does having a fighters union mean for fighters? What is that union actually going to do for the fighters? And what is that union going to require from the fighters in order to do their job? Exactly. Are they going to be taking a part of that money that they're helping fight to get them better pay for? So there's a lot of unanswered questions. And I think again, like you said, if they start this, as long as they continue pushing and it's not like, oh, cool, we started something, now we'll pump the brakes, because that's what always happens. Like, example, when Francis Ngannou started standing up against Dana White and low fighter pay, I truly believe in my heart of hearts that if the other two, like literally like champs from the same country as him, right? Like they all talk about being Nigerian champs. You got the Nigerian Nightmare. You got Izzy, who's fighting this weekend. I think if those three guys who, like, no offense to Kamaru, I've never been a huge fan of him, just his personality wise, love watching his fights. He's skilled just to the teeth. But 2 out of 3 of those guys have massive star power.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
If even just 2 of them would have banded together, then we probably would have heard about that fuss a lot longer. Instead, 2 days after that came out about Francis, I think it was 2 or 3 days later, we literally hear that Israel Adesanya has just signed the most lucrative MMA contract of his life.
Yeah.
Why do you think that happened, kid? They bought you. They bought your mouth. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Like, make your money, kid. But you can't be on both sides. You can't say like, oh, well, I want fighters to make more money. And then just like I'm sitting here doing, bitch, when Adesanya's like, yeah, I took the more money. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't be mad at the guy for doing what we're all trying to fight for. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if they did this whole I am Spartacus, then maybe everybody gets paid. Everybody wins.
No, I agree. I really thought Francis was going to make some big moves after the whole Surreal Gone thing, you know, and everyone was like, oh, is he going to leave after this? The contract's up. He's talking about the money and it's not enough. First of all, there should be no reason why Francis Ngannou isn't getting paid the same as like Anthony Joshua Usyk. Like, are you freaking kidding me, bro? Like, he's the heavyweight champ of the world. Look what he did. Look what he does to people. And he just proved like a whole nother level to his game against Surreal Gone. I mean, he freaking wrestled frick the guy. You know what I'm saying? So I understand, like, as if I was heavyweight champ of the world in UFC, and then I look at the numbers that Anthony Joshua, who's on a freaking 2-fight losing streak, you know, it's like, why not even go over to boxing and make
it's like that guy got paid more when he admitted he didn't take a training camp seriously than I did when I literally killed myself.
It would be interesting. You know, I don't know how much you look into like how boxers make that kind of money or like what the actual business model is for boxers at that level. But I mean, if like you said, like 1 or 2 of those guys to just say, you know, we can do this without Dana or without the president holding us back. If they created their own promotions and paired up with like a serious company, I mean, you can make some real magic. You can make some real money. I really believe that. You know, who wouldn't want to see, like you said, if Israel and Francis both were like, F Dana, we're going to do our own thing, and then just started making their own. I don't know if you go back into like MMA history. Remember when BJ Penn left the UFC and was like, F Dana, I'm going to fight the best lightweights in my own organization. That's when he fought Takanori Gomi on Rumble on the Rock in Hawaii because he really wanted to fight the best 155ers. And Dana was like, he's a pride guy. We're kind of, nah, F you, Dana. I'm going to do my own thing. Why not do that again? But then guess what happened? Dana White took away the lightweight division for a while.
Shut it down. Yeah.
BJ being the person that he is, he was like, all right, I'm going to fight at welterweight. But yeah, something like that, man. Someone needs to be brave enough to do that. And we look back, BJ was that guy. BJ was the guy that said, F it. I'm gonna fight anybody, anywhere on my terms. Made Rumble on the Rock. And I don't know if you remember, we got some crazy fights on Rumble on the Rock. We got Carlos Condit on there, Robbie Lawler, Jake Shields beat 2 of those guys in one night. Like, we had some fun fights at Rumble on the Rock back in the day. So why not do it again?
I 1000% will double tap on that point. And just kind of backtracking to the kind of the first part of that answer you gave. So you asked like kind of if I know a little bit about why boxers are able to make as much as they make. It's the split. They get just a much higher percentage split of business with the boxers or with the actual talent than the production. And that comes from bidding too. Like whenever they're placing these bids, a lot of times like they're structuring the bids so that like if like they're, let's just say like Showtime is bidding to host this fight for easy math's sake. Let's say like they're putting 200 million down and it's Usyk versus Joshua 3 or 4, whatever the hell the case is by this point, right? Then they know, okay, well, Joshua, even though he's lost his last 3 or 4, he's still a bigger draw than Usyk, right? Yeah. It's just facts. He puts asses in seats. He sells pay-per-views. He's a big, scary guy that literally looks like he could be the villain from a Rocky movie. He is a physical specimen. Like, I will always watch his fights. I don't care how many times he loses. Mm-hmm. So they're going to give him 125. They're going to give Usyk 75. Mm-hmm. But realistically, they can't give them the entirety, right? So, like, they're figuring out these stakes, but basically, they're going to give a larger lump sum to talent A versus talent B. Mm-hmm. And then across the board, no matter what that production costs to put on, the boxers are getting some like ridiculous number, like what is it, 60%, 40% of the money made.
Better than you guys.
Well, UFC guys are getting like, I think it's like a 6 to like 12% split. It's god awful in comparison. Like, I don't know the official numbers, but I know it's not great. And if you compare it to boxing, it's like, oh wow, holy shit, these guys are getting paid this much. When I look at the numbers and I read these like analyst reports and stuff, I am constantly scratching my head, Aiden. Like, how did Showtime make money on this? They paid they paid 2 guys out of the like 12 dudes on the card this much money, and they sold this many pay-per-views. I get like going to the event can be quite expensive, but how the hell did they make money on this? But then that's where sponsors and things like that come in.
Mm-hmm. And they keep doing it. They keep putting on shows with millions and millions of dollars. Again, same question. Like, how are you putting 300 million split between 2 guys, and then the undercard gets whatever, but then you keep doing it and keep doing it. So there's money to be made, and it's not just in boxing.
100%. There's always money to be made. The thing is, when it comes to UFC and a lot of mixed martial arts promotions, and I'm sure you'll see this all the way up till you make it to the UFC, climbing your way to the top. They're not the only ones that do this, but for them, giving the fighters extra money almost feels like leaving money on the table. And we don't like leaving money on the table. Yeah. We like to put that money in our pockets. So that's how a promoter sees it. It's easy money to be made. They see that as, well, if I didn't do all this work, like, woe is me, they wouldn't have a stage to fight. So I deserve this money. To an extent, sure. But if they weren't literally being gladiators in a cage, you wouldn't be making this money. So moving on to the next question, I could go off on that.
Tangent there.
Yeah, I could go off on a tangent on fighter pay for a long time. I don't want to be like Helwani 2.0 here. Arthur asked another question here. So when will MMA adopt a better scoring system?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And I will take it further and ask you, what do you think would make MMA scoring better? Genuinely.
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you what, I like the idea of open scoring. I love that idea. When we do like Muay Thai tournaments over here in Arizona, they always have open scoring on the screen. So it's like, in the middle of rounds, you can literally look at the screen and be like, all right, you're down 2 rounds, right? Or you're up 2 rounds, or it's 1-1. I love that. I know people are like, people will coast in the 3rd round. As a coach, the more information you got, the better, right? So there's no harm in having more information, right? As far as like how everything's scored criteria wise, it's you gotta, and it goes into building the sport, and you got to have like a real campus or a real institute that refs have to go to get qualified. You can't just have Joe Schmoes, scoring these fights when paychecks are on the line, and it hurts. It really does hurt watching people in the UFC literally kill themselves, and then like, I don't want to say anything, but Piotr on Sean O'Malley was a little iffy. Like, and both guys really did kill themselves over that fight. And it's like, whatever you see go one way or the other, it's like, that really sucks for the guy that everyone thought won, And as far as how we would fix open scoring, I think it's just getting more knowledge to the people that like having a school of refs, like a real legit school of refs, not just having Big John McCarthy or Herb Dean, but like having a panel of people, veteran refs, veteran fighters to educate these guys. You don't have to be a fighter. You just got to be a little bit more educated in what you're looking at. And it's always hard. Ian and I always have these conversations. We're like, what if we do like when they throw the numbers up every round or some crazy stuff. Like, it's all subjective, but I think just getting more knowledge out there to the refs is the best thing. And having a school of reffing, I believe, is the best way.
So this might get me put in a guillotine when we meet in person, but I'm one of those weird guys that actually could see it for Sean O'Malley.
Ooh,
like,
okay.
and I've watched the fight now 3 times. When I first watched it, I literally, as the fight was ending, I was like, fuck, I wouldn't want to be a judge today.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first round I thought was pretty darn close.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second round was obviously Petr Yan.
Mm-hmm.
Petr Yan. And then the third round was obviously Sean O'Malley, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So when I went back, and then I looked at the stats afterwards and I'm like, oh, shit. I mean, yeah, he had like 5 minutes of control time, but he landed 6 ground strikes apparently. Like, that's not a whole lot. He's like, you're averaging a strike on top of me a minute. You didn't really whoop my ass. Like, you know that, like, you don't, just because you're on bottom doesn't mean you're losing. And then on top of that, when you look at when they were on the feet, I did think Sean's, like, every time they were connecting, Sean's strikes were moving his head back. And yeah, when I went back and rewatched it, the next 2 times, I was like, oh yeah, I definitely see why the judges gave it to Sean O'Malley. Because as of 2019, like, the big changes we're going off of damage. Damage is the big thing. We're focusing on damage. If you look at damage inflicted across each round on a 10-point must system, I thought, one, like, if you ask me, if you put a gun to my head, 7 out of 10 times, I'm probably going to say Sean O'Malley.
Yeah. No, that's
round 3, 10 out of 10. But the same thing, like, for Petr Yan, I'm giving him round 1, 3 out of 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving him round 2, fucking 11 out of 10 times. He dominated in round 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Sean had nothing for him. I don't know, like, what kind of secret juice fucking Sean O'Malley's corner gave him in between rounds, but he was ready in round 3.
Mm-hmm. I know. I completely agree. I'm not the guy to, just stick with the guy that I wanted to win. And I always try to look at it from, like, okay, again, like, how are the judges looking at this? Like, what is the most lasting impression, right? That first round was hard. And was it the first round where Sean did that really cool takedown at the very end?
Yes, it was so slick, and they didn't count it as a takedown.
Exactly,
because they said it was a trip. I was like, what the fuck, dude? He literally he spun on the outside. He got a leg behind him. It was a Muay Thai trip.
Yeah,
it was beautiful, and he hit that on a Muay Thai guy. I literally, like, I was home alone that weekend and I jumped out of my fucking bed, dude. I was like, what the fuck?
No. Sean was impressive, man. Like, especially going against a former champ. And it's like, you talk about, you got to look at it from the judge's point of view as far as, like, what that was something cool. That was a highlight. Like, what sticks out in your head at the end of the day? But like, it doesn't even, like, F all the stuff in between. But, like, as a spectator, what popped out in your head was, like, Sean doing that. The third round or the second round, even when Sean hit him hard and first with the overhand left, and then Petr Yan got him back, but it was still like, it was here, his left and right. And then the third round where he got him with the knee, and you can see, like, especially with Petr Yan's style, like, the way he liked to cover up and move and defend, like, even when Sean's just flurrying you, like, it looks more crazy than it might be in Petr Yan's mind. Maybe Petr Yan in his mind is like, yeah, he caught me with the knee, but I'm moving, I'm chilling. But to us, we're like, dude, you got cut, you got cracked. So it's hard, man. But going back to your question, as far as, like, judging, yeah, it's always about educating, right? Like, you're a lot more educated, so you understand. Yeah, the takedowns were nice by Petr Yan, but what did he do with them? Did he beat the crap out of him? Sean got up really well almost every time.
I was very impressed with that. I've been one of those guys for years. Like, you can ask any of the people in my close friend group. I have never been a Sean O'Malley fan. I think he's arrogant. I think he fights like guys that are, especially with this performance, guys that are like beneath him. He's been handpicking these guys, and that's no knock on these guys. These guys are all great guys. They're not ready for a Sean O'Malley, and he proved that in this last fight, and he proved me wrong too, because like the last 3 fights before then on the DraftKings that I host, I literally put his opponent on my DraftKings card just because I'm like, fuck Sean.
Yeah.
And this was the first time I was like, oh, Sean's pretty cheap. I'll put him on my card. And when he won, I was like super shocked. And like with how he won, I was even more shocked because it wasn't like if he would have went out there and somehow got like a quick, just boom, 1-shot knockout, I think that would have been less impressive than lasting the full distance with, like you said, a former champion and somebody that is 100% that guy. Like Piotr Jan is a monster. I wouldn't want to fight that guy, and he's much smaller than me. I've trained, like I'm not just some like random dude on the street, but no fucking way. You can't pay me. I don't want that. And he went out there, and here's this guy that people like make fun of, and they're like, oh, he fights cans. He's not ready for the top 10. And he fought number 1. And in 3 judges' eyes, or 2 out of 3, he beat him.
Yeah.
That's wild. And
you can't even say former champ. He's a 2-time. He's a champion and an interim champ. He's got 2 belts.
Yeah.
You know?
He's a beast.
he's a killer. He's a world beater. And look at what he made. You know, even the both fights with Aljamain Sterling, look how Piotr Jan made him look. You know what I'm saying? In both those fights, if we're going to be complete, like after he got his back taken, the second fight, round 4 and 5, even Aljo's like, yeah, I got my ass beat in those last 2 rounds, but I won. So I think Piotr Jan should just fight 5 rounds from here on out, every fight.
Oh yeah. I think that's a safe bet. If I'm Piotr Jan's manager, I'm negotiating a 5-round fight into every contract.
Or leave, right?
Or
like
leave.
That's a person that could, if he went back to Russia, or even like an Asian card where he can actually knee people on the head while they're on the ground. I mean, that guy could make. I guarantee you, he's making at least like $500K.
Oh, and he's murdering people, and he's making it look just masterful.
Murdering guys. So, you know, going back to the whole expansion of the sport and everything, that's another guy that has that kind of star power, I think, at least in the European scene. Imagine him in Russia.
Dude.
So,
crush. He'd crush in Russia.
Yeah.
Okay, so last fan question, and then I've got just a couple more for you. So,
sure.
The Blaqhato wants to know, could the UFC benefit by putting on shows similar to One Championship by mixing in things like grappling, Muay Thai events, kickboxing, etc.? I think that plays perfectly into what you were saying about Piotr Jan, right? Like, you imagine that guy on a Muay Thai card for the UFC?
Oh, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. You know what? There's 2 parts to this. And one, as a fan, I would love to see multiple sport. I mean, one does it. Ryzen had Kyoji Horiguchi fight Tenshin Nasukawa in a special rules kickboxing. Like, come on, bro. Who, like you said, who wouldn't want to see like a Muay Thai Piotr Jan against like Rodtang? Let's bring over Rodtang. It's like, come on. I know. What's that kid's name? Muskemi, the Jiu-Jitsu 1 champ.
Yeah. Mike Mushimi.
Yeah, he wants to
From
go.
1.
Yeah, like, but at the same time, I feel like UFC has to keep their identity as the ultimate fighting champion. UFC. This is MMA. This is the NFL of MMA, essentially, right? So they got to keep it kind of geared towards one audience. I wouldn't be. I mean, remember when Dana was going to do Zuffa boxing and
Whatever happened to that?
And they got Anthony Joshua and freaking Gypsy King on the UFC game. Like, yeah, what happened to that?
Yeah, what? We're still waiting, Dana.
I don't know if you remember, but Bellator used to do those double events. They used to have the cage right next to the kickboxing ring.
I went to one of those when they did it in San Jose, and I had no idea that it was a double event. So I went, and it was me and Mary, and we got there. Like, I was just going because one of my buddies was fighting on the card that trained with me at AKA, Daniel Gonzalez.
Okay.
And he was the first fight on the card. He won by knockout. He killed his opponent. It was like a 46 second or some shit. And then literally, like, we're enjoying the card, and then the fight card ends, and I'm like, all right, baby, ready to go. And as we're getting ready to go, they like literally like shine the light on the other cage that's like behind like in a different part of the crowd, and I'm like,
What the heck?
fuck is happening right now? And then they're like, and now Bellator kickboxing. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? There was like another like 5 or 6 fights afterwards, and I was like,
2 shows.
That's like, are you down to stay for at least some of this? She's like, yeah, absolutely.
How are those fights?
Oh, they were sick. They were great fights. Yeah, I want to say, who was on that card? I think it was Benson Henderson was on the main or co-main event of the actual Bellator card that night. Yeah, I'd have to look it up, but yeah, it was a dope ass card. They had a lot of like stuff for the fans there. I got to meet Fedor Emelianenko. Took a picture with him. Mary was like, "Should I leave you two alone?" I was like, "Maybe."
That's a legend, man. That's so dope.
Yeah, dude, it was sick. Yeah, I got like the little bobblehead they were handing out. It was a cool event, honestly. Bellator, I will say, puts on really good events.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Their live events are amazing. I feel like you don't get the same production on TV that you do if you go live for Bellator.
I always thought that Bellator was for more geared towards the fan experience live, as opposed to like UFC. It's geared towards the production as far as what you see on TV, right? Like even like I went to the last WC event, and they're having like freaking stations during the fight, or like, you know what I'm saying, like stuff outside, like stuff for the fans. UFC, you get the music, you get the videos on the thing, and then you get the fights, and like that's it, and that's what you pay for. But like again, like Bellator, like I wish they brought back the kickboxing. Like that opens the market so much. So going back to your question, as far as like UFC doing multiple things, do Zuffa boxing and just do it on the side. Like I know Dana White's doing slap whatever.
Yeah, he's doing like ultimate slap fighting or slap boxing or whatever. Like, dude, just do Zuffa boxing on Fight Pass.
Dude, exactly.
Like most of us have Fight Pass already anyway. Like give us something else to watch on there.
Yeah, and that should be, I mean, even what Ian's saying is that would be too easy. So, or that would make too much sense.
Yeah, that'd make too much sense. That'd make too much sense. I agree. Okay, so back to a couple questions from me. So I'm gonna do one more like UFC or MMA question,
okay,
and then we'll do just a couple of outside of MMA questions for fun.
Sounds good.
So if you could choose any athlete outside of mixed martial arts, and it could even be a boxer. I feel like that's an easy route, but it can even be a boxer. Any athlete outside of mixed martial arts, who do you think transitions best to the sport?
Any athlete outside of mixed martial arts, huh?
Anybody outside of it?
Oh man, it's hard. It's hard that because I don't really watch too much anything outside the sport of combat sports. But
that's fair.
I honestly say anybody that's in that NFL lineup. You know what I'm saying? Like we get people that are built like Greg Hardy, but younger and less domestic violent. And you train them from the ground up. Like Ian and I talk about this with a roommate all the time. It's like MMA gets like the bottom of the barrel when it comes to athletes, because like we don't have anything better to do. We're not cool enough or big enough to do football or basketball. But if you were to get a basketball player that's 6'8", 6'9", a football player that's like 6'5", 6'6", 250, 60 pounds, he can run his butt off and sprint as hard as he can. Like we got Greg Hardy at a weird time, and we got him post NFL. Like if you got a kid that was looking to get into the NFL, that's just a unit, and then you're like, let's spend like 2 years of just straight MMA, man. Like any one of those guys on the combine, honestly. So I don't have any specific names, but I'm going to say anybody on an NFL combine is able to be a freaking at least in the top 10 at heavyweight. If
have you ever heard of DK Metcalf?
Yes.
That's the guy that I'm literally picturing when you're describing your perfect guy. Let me am I able to actually present this picture? This guy's a freak athlete.
You guys got just the double leg and overhands. I mean, you're in the top 10 in heavyweight.
Dude, yeah. Like, look at this. Let's see here. Oh, perfect. Look at this guy.
Goodness, 6'3", 228 pounds.
1.6% body fat. So check it out. The only reason I know about this guy, and to your point of what you said earlier, right? Like the only thing that I watch is combat sports. So just like you, I don't really know a lot of these people, but I got the invite from the fiance's family to the family fantasy football league. And so I started asking him like, hey, you're really good at this and I'm really not going to be good at this. So any advice you have, I'm all for it. And so I just basically start listening to all the players that he talks about. And I'm like, is there anybody you're excited about in your other league? He mentioned DK Metcalf like last year. And he's like, yeah, a lot of the elite like analysts and professionals that are like doing all the stuff on this, that are telling people who not to draft, are saying they don't think he's going to do well because he's like too buff and he doesn't have body fat. And so they think he's just like not going to have a gas tank, but then he's still a fucking freak on the field, this kid.
Yeah.
So I think somebody like that, I mean, MMA is lucky.
It really is. And to people watching, that's not just because he's big and has abs and is bigger than everyone, it doesn't mean he's going to be the best in the UFC. But man, strength and size and athleticism goes such a way in MMA. And
trainability. That guy's trainable. He's literally a professional athlete already. So he's coachable. He listens to a coach already. You get that guy a Muay Thai coach, you get him a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, you get him like 3 or 4 guys that know their discipline. Give that guy like 2 years and he's murdering heavyweights.
Exactly. And you got to do it the right way, right? Like you can't just take like someone like Greg Hardy and be like, all right, we're going to do MMA. We're going to teach you the ins and outs. No, it's like put on a gi, put on your white belt, and you're going to do jiu-jitsu for 2 hours every day on top of everything else. But going back to like the kids wrestling program, I tell you, I keep doing, it's like, if you want to be good at something, you got to get to the core of it. And if you want to be good at jiu-jitsu, you got to get in jiu-jitsu class. You know what I'm saying? And learn how to shrimp and learn how to defend an armbar, learn how to defend a rear naked choke. If you want to be good at wrestling, get your ass in a kids wrestling class and learn how to do a double leg. Because like you've seen, those kids know how to freaking wrestle and they're kids.
They know how to do it better than me. I promise you. I'm a Muay Thai guy. Like I'll strike all day, and my goal is to make sure that you don't get on top of me. If you do, I'm just trying to get back to my feet. I don't want to play your game. I don't want to get in your guard. Like get away from me with all that shit. I'm not a grappler. Like me and Ian have had this conversation. I'm like, I've seen you grapple. You would not be fun for me to spar unless we're doing like just stand up sparring. Then like maybe it'll be fun for me. Yeah. And even then it's a big maybe because I'm rusty. So Arthur said he wishes Gable Stevenson went MMA instead of WWE. Don't we all?
Yeah.
Don't we all?
That'll be the day. He's still young. That'll be the day.
He's still very young.
Yeah. Even if he did like a normal local pro fight, like just let me see what he's gonna do to somebody. Thank you. That's all I want to see. Like I just want to see what he like. Just let us see it happen. Like is he like a Bo Nickel? Is he that guy? I think it'll be like DC and Strikeforce. He's just people head and just people forget DC and Strikeforce when he was like 8-0, 9-0. He was destroying dudes.
He was nasty.
So love DC, man. Love those guys at AKA. Love those guys.
DC is the reason I went to train at AKA because I found out that AKA wasn't that far from me. It was like a 30-minute drive when I was in San Jose, and I had just started training. And I grew up in Louisiana. DC is like that guy. So I was like, dude, I'm gonna drop in for a little sample class. My unathletic ass, and let's see how this goes. Great times.
The rest is history, huh?
The rest is history, man. Years there. Yeah, that's good times. So I feel like all of these interviews, and you're going to have tons of these interviews going through your career, you're going to get asked tons of MMA questions. What did you do differently in this fight camp versus last fight camp? What's your go-to submission? All that stuff. So just kind of breaking the monotony of MMA questions. Just going to kind of go off the cusp.
Okay.
What is... do you have any hobbies or like hidden talents outside of mixed martial arts?
Ooh, hidden talents. Me. Babe, do I have any hidden talents, babe?
Oh yeah, let's bring in the guest speaker.
I'll what do they call on Lifeline?
Phone a friend?
Yeah, phone a friend. Man, when I'm not fighting or when I'm not in camp or I'm not coaching somebody, I'm always getting lost in the video games. I've always been part of video games. whether now it's UFC 4. I'm asking, and I wake up in the morning when I live with them, hop on UFC 4, and then I jump to practice. But when I really don't have anything going on, man, I really like getting lost in really good stories of video games and these open world games and these RPGs. And I'm a huge nerd. That was me. Ian told me I like making prison meals too. I like when I'm in camp, I'll like just throw things together.
Prison slop.
Prison slop. Just get my protein and carbs and starches and stuff in the way. I'll throw beef and eggs together. So but I definitely pride myself in making some bomb foods while you're in camp. Like I got this the day of my fight, I'll make like a protein waffle egg McGriddle by myself. Ooh. So I'll like get protein waffles, cook up a fat beef patty with salt, caramelized mushrooms and bacon and cheese, and it's like just protein packed, like 12 carbs and like 50, 60 grams of protein, and I'll eat that the day of my fight, just this fat breakfast sandwich. So I pride myself in making that. But as far as hidden talents, man, video games for sure.
It sounds like cooking is in there too. I mean, I was going to say next morning card, if you're local, I might have to have you over.
Yeah, I'll make you some bomb breakfast for sure.
Let's go. Okay. So since you brought up food, what is your go-to? You just said your go-to like day of the fight meal. What's your go-to like post-fight meal or dessert? Like what are you a sweet guy or?
No, I'm a eat everything type of guy. Okay. After the fight, Ian and I usually get some cheesy crust pizza, meat lovers pizza. And then we kind of share a bite of it. But this fight, I wasn't really feeling that. So we just got some fried chicken sandwiches. So yeah, couldn't go wrong with that. Got him one, so, stay lean for his camp coming up or his fight coming up. And it was good. And I had some ice cream on the side. So either a nice, good fried chicken sandwich or some pizza. I'm all good.
Love it. And then you finish it off with ice cream. My kind of guy. Love that. Okay, so what is your favorite? Like, what's your go-to TV show?
Ooh, man, I really, this past camp we've been watching a lot of that Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh my God, my fucking friends keep telling me I look like him because like since I dyed the hair and the glasses. Yeah, it's.
No, you don't look as creepy, bro. You're like.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm like, we're just gonna watch some fights and then you can go.
I told you some fights and we're done. But no, it's my whole life is immersed around MMA. So when I do get out of my own head, get my head out of my butt, and I watch with the family and stuff. It's always like mystery documentaries or like some type of like. I always like. I love criminal stuff because I like learning about like psychosis of that. Like I like learning about like why and what drove these people to do these things. And just from an entertainment standpoint, it's like, it's pretty freaking crazy that people are capable of crazy things like that. So, keeps me on your toes. You know what I'm saying? You're like, got to watch out for people.
Absolutely. It's always good to know a little bit more about human nature. Nothing wrong with that. Great to know why people are the way they are. And, like you said, it's great to kind of open your eyes and be like, oh, there are some freaks out there. I should definitely not just trust everybody, maybe as blindly as I have before.
And the true stories are I think better than these fictional stories you can read in a book or learn from a video, like these these creepypastas and stories people make up. Like you can't write half the things that happen. Like if you watch that Jeffrey Dahmer thing, like you can't write half of the things in there because it's so in depth and so complex and like so like everything this man did, and just an example, like Jeffrey Dahmer got baptized in prison the same day that John Wayne Gacy got executed, and they had a solar eclipse happening at the same time. Like you can't like that's something that's like some freaking Illuminati Satan stuff, right? Like you
that's
can't,
next level.
Yeah, you can't write something like that in a book. So just entertainment standpoint, it's always like criminal minds type stuff. So yeah.
I don't hate that. I mean, like I said, I'm always all about learning. Like I always like watching good docuseries and things like that. If it's too dark, we don't watch because Mary is she's kind of a wimp when it comes to that kind of stuff. But we love watching like documentaries and stuff.
Dude.
I definitely haven't watched the Dahmer one yet. I apparently should. I've heard about it now from, I think, fucking everybody I know.
It's not even like a documentary. I feel like I'm making a commercial for this freaking thing, but it's
Hit us
made
with the pitch.
it's made by the same people that made Black Mirror, or not Black Mirror. Man, what is that? American Horror Story.
Oh, okay. I loved the first. See, like that's a show that I used to love, and then I feel like I fell off.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same like eeriness and creepiness too. So it's like a real story, but it has that like Hollywood creepiness to it. And it makes it such a great show. So yeah,
I'm gonna watch that one without Mary for sure.
It gets dark for sure, obviously.
Yeah, I'll watch that one without her. Yeah. So question. Are you the same when it comes to like movies? Are you not a big movie guy either?
Oh, I'm a huge movie guy.
Okay, all right.
I'll try not to talk too much about movies, but I'm a big movie guy.
Okay, so top 3 movies. If you have to like literally sit down someone who woke up like caveman status, they've never seen a movie in their entire life, and you're like, you have to see these 3 movies. These are the first 3 movies you need to see. Mm-hmm. What are those movies?
Number 1 is Back to the Future.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great pick.
My dad introduced me to that movie, so it's an 80s movie. It's freaking amazing. It's classic. Number 2, something that really inspired me was the first Karate Kid, another 80s throwback. Kind of like me, right? Like I was a kid from New Jersey, and I moved to Arizona, kind of the west side of the country, and that's where I learned my technical prowess and my MMA training and whatnot. And kind of the same with Daniel LaRusso, and moved cross country. He was kind of a loser kid, and he found a gym, and the rest was history. So Karate Kid, Back to the Future, and hopefully I don't get too much hate for this, but Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi is literally my favorite Star Wars.
Okay,
Bro. Dude, okay. Your 3 movies would all 3 be on my top 10 list of all time.
There you go.
So, dude, yeah. Did we just become best friends? No, seriously? That movie is fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of my Star Wars is always something I grew up with as a kid, and I had all the Lego sets and all the action figures, and always wanted to be a bounty hunter. And
yes.
So definitely Star Wars Episode 6 because everything comes together. I like the progression of Luke being a kid, and then Star Wars Episode 6, he comes in with the black robes and the new lightsaber, and he's telling everybody to back off because he's about to mess some stuff up. So that's my favorite, one of my top 3. And then Ian just texted me. He said Godzilla because Godzilla is something I grew up with since I was a kid. So if we were going number 4, any Godzilla movie, more specifically the originals, the 1960s Heisei series Godzilla. So cheesy, so weird, and something I grew up.
The old like claymation.
A little bit past that. It's like when they're in rubber suits.
And yes,
they're in rubber suits, and like the dragons have like strings holding them up, and it just looks so goofy. But I grew up with the Godzilla since I was a kid, and Ian and I were fighting. It was King Kong versus Godzilla around our house when the movie came out, and Godzilla won. So in your face.
So Ian's obviously not a Godzilla fan.
He's a King Kong fan. He likes to take people down and smash them. But yeah,
I'm a bigger King Kong fan too. Got to be honest, but always been a Godzilla fan as well.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Great fun. For anybody that's into that kind of genre, like that movie was just literally exactly what it was supposed to be. Yeah, exactly. Chef's kiss.
Not too much of the kids involved. Not too much of the love story or any of that BS. It was like from start to finish, it was crazy monster action, and you can't ask more. What do you expect out of a Godzilla movie? You know,
we just wanted to see big creatures beat the crap out of each other, and we got it. It was perfect.
I'm actually, I'm gonna watch that tonight.
I love it. Awesome, man. Well, I don't have any other crazy questions for you. I feel like I kept you a lot longer than I'd actually planned on, and I appreciate you being patient. So tell everybody that's listening where to follow you and what your handle is.
All right. My name's Aiden Ingram again. You can find me on any social media handle, Aiden the Future. Shout out to MMAnomaly for having me on here, man. I'm going to be listening, and we should definitely get together after one of the big cards and talk. I'll be interested to see your take on some of the fights this weekend. It's going to be this card's pretty freaking huge, and I love it. So, and you know, I definitely would like to talk to you about the Ryzen and Bellator New Year's event when it happens too. Ian and I have Juan, our boy Juan, on that card. One of my favorite fighters, Kyoji Horiguchi, on that card. Nobody's favorite 145er Pitbull on that card. So how this go? Hey, when they started bringing up Pitbull versus Jose Aldo in his last fight, I was like, we need to stop right there. We need to stop right there. Listen.
Can we not? Can we not?
Yeah. That's what I'm gonna leave the people with. Please don't mistake the greatness of Jose Aldo. That man is eons now above Pitbull. Even now, I put money on it.
I'd back that bet too. I'd back that bet with my mouth, my wallet, you fucking name it. Yeah. Jose Aldo is definitely leaps and bounds ahead of him. And yes, I would love to chat with you, possibly after the pay-per-view this weekend, and definitely after that New Year's card.
Yeah, we gotta get on too. We'll have a big debate about it.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
I'm feeling some crazy shit's about to happen this weekend. That's all I'm saying.
I definitely feel like some crazy shit's going to happen this weekend, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be happy, and a lot of people are going to be sad.
Dude. Oh, my goodness. So, thank you, brother. It's been awesome.
Thank you, Aiden. I appreciate it. Everybody, again, make sure you go give this guy a follow across all platforms at Aiden the Future. And make sure you tune into his next fight. And if you haven't already seen his last fight from, it was Freedom Fights 3, right?
Yes, sir. Freedom
Fight Night 3. Make sure you check that out. He got a nasty, nasty guillotine. And thanks again, Aiden. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Later.